All right, welcome back. It's been a little while. It is winter time and it's been kind of slow getting things done. So wanted to do this kind of quick update. Got the heads back 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Yeah, 3 weeks ago. And so what we did on the heads was a little bit of investigation showed that it already had the deep seats in the heads. I talked to the previous owner. He said, yeah, those heads had been done by Falcon. It's still a mystery why the intake seat dropped. It's apparently not normal for an intake. It's much more common for an exhaust. But anyway, for whatever reason, so we already had deep seats. So I took that head to my local machinist, who I use for everything else, and he looked at it and he said, well, he could make a seat and put it in with about 7/1000 interference fit. I would have liked a little more interference fit, but 7's pretty normal, a little bit on the high side. I think the factory did 5/1000. So he said, you know, he put the seat in there, recut it, and then he said, well, why don't we recut all the seats? He says, because if there's another one that's loose, the cutter should grab it and spin it out, or give an indication that we have another seat problem. So that made sense. And he also suggested that we reface the back of the valve. So basically it got a valve job. Nothing was changed, same spring, same. I had to buy one valve from Clark's because that intake valve was screwed up. So he basically did a valve job, and I decided, well, who knows what's going on the other side. If, you know, one did it, let's check them all. So I pulled the other head, and both heads basically got valve jobs done on them right here locally. I want to say I paid about $350 per head to have all that done, so it wasn't overly expensive, and I didn't think it made sense to send it to SPA when the heads were done by Falcon. We were just repairing one seat, and there wasn't anything this guy was doing, you know, other machine work on the head. Just made sense to do it locally, so that's what I did. So and then I dressed up that piston, that number 2 piston that had the groove in it from the valve hitting the top of the piston. I cleaned that up, and it was so far in on the piston it wasn't affecting the ring lands, so that made sense just to get out a die grinder and clean that up. So that's what happened. So I've got the right head back on and done, and I'm working on the left, and I thought, okay, time to do an update. And I also want to show you how I do the rocker arm installations, because although I'm using I'm using the trusty SPA William Wynn Corvair manual, it doesn't really address how to do heads on an engine that's hanging on an airplane. So, and there are some tricks. So I wanted to just show you what I'm doing, and if you ever come across this and have to fix a head on an engine that's mounted, maybe you can go back and reference this video, or remember what I was doing. So I've got the heads all torqued. So let's go ahead, and we're going to put the rocker arms on number 2 right now, and I'll show you a couple little tricks I do. So let's get some light in here. First thing, see if we can get a close up here. You have to remember, make sure these plates go on with the letter U that's stamped in it facing out. I had one that went on backwards, and when I tried to slide the push rod in, it was sticking, it wouldn't go in. So apparently those are cut at an angle, and they have to be in that way. So your push rods have a tiny little hole there in the top, and that has to face up. And the big thing about doing them horizontally is that your push rod can get stuck on the edge of the lifter. So what I do is I go in and I try to catch that edge, and then I rotate a little bit, and it should pop down into the groove. All right, so now it's not sitting up on that edge. So now's when you want to put that, make sure that doesn't move, because I've heard them, they kind of pop out. Okay, so you want to get on that edge and then rotate a little bit, and it'll pop in. And then you're absolutely sure you're on the down inside the lifter. We have our hole there. We're going to make sure that's pointed up, because that's going to squirt oil up. And so now what I do, now all these valves are closed, so you can't just turn the engine over and look for compression to find your top dead center. What you got to do is now install this, and I'm going to have to put this down. Let me see if I can set this up on top of it. Okay, I'm back. Now, grab my rocker arm, and I've lubed it up. I'm actually using Lubriplate lubricant. So we find the edge, make sure it pops in. Okay, push this on and hold it. And then we're going to put the nut on, finger tight. We're holding it in there so it can't fall out of that lifter. Our 9/16, bring that up, finger tight. We're going to do that on both of these. Then we're going to go about finding top dead center. Okay, so this one's the same thing. Find the edge, get it to pop in. I can already tell we're not at top dead center because one of these is farther out than the other. But that's okay for right now. The other thing you can, when you're all done, and I'll show you on the other side when I'm done here, all these lock nuts will end up with about one thread showing after you've made your 3/4 turn adjustment on the lifter. So we'll get these tight. I'm going to start turning the prop, and we're going to look for, this is the intake, this is the exhaust. Keep them tight. Okay. That's tight, that's loose again. Make sure we don't come off of that. Alright, there's my exhaust opening. Next should be intake. There goes the intake. So we should be coming around to top dead center as soon as this closes. Or should be getting to the compression strip. Okay. Now I'll put my finger over the top. Yep, compression. Look for top dead center. Make sure that we're relieved on the cam. Now, back these off. Well, actually that one's already just about right. Now I just finger tight, I think the book has you come in here and rotate these until they just won't rotate. There's two ways I do this. Actually, you can use a ratchet. And I set it up so that I'm not tightening. It's set up to loosen. And I just tighten until the ratchet starts to click. Okay. They look about the same. Now we're going to do our 3/4 turn. Okay, I'm going to try to start upright. 3/4 of a turn. 3/4 of a turn. And now for our nut. And we're going to torque these to 10 foot-pounds. So these are the nuts that have had the flange at the bottom turned down, so you can get your 9/16 wrench on there. And when we get 10 foot-pounds on here, they should look exactly like this. Now, if you have one of these studs that has been ground on for some reason, you might end up with a different clearance there. But otherwise, like these that have never been molested, you will end up with, should end up with the exact same amount on each one. Just bring it around till it contacts. Contact. Grab my torque wrench and my 9/16 wrench. And get up in here with the 9/16. Get the torque wrench on there. And we're going to 10. Right there. This one going to 10. Oops. And I actually will adjust this a little bit if I need to. I want to get that wrench in there nice and firm. Okay, 10. Oops. There we go. 10. All right. I can see those are all look the same. Take you over to the other side and show you that. All right, here's this side. See, they're all just about exactly the same. So that's the trick to doing heads while they're on the engine's still mounted on the airplane. All right, I'm going to finish this up, get the valve covers on, get the exhaust installed. I still have a little bit of intake work to do, so probably not today, but I will run this engine on the next nice day. And, you know, don't expect any issues at all. Should run just fine. So we'll start flying again. All right, well, thanks for watching.